Hello my lovelies, how are you doing? Latest video about the rational religion. The rational religion. The rational religion. There must be a rational explanation to all this, right? This religion is trying to destroy ancient mysteries. The people who espouse this are saying we're not allowed to speak about anything mysterious. There's nothing allowed to be mysterious anymore. In other words, we have to take the opinion that we know everything, and then we have to go from there. But that's only the case if we're made in the image of God, isn't it? In other words, we have to be followers of the technology God to be rational. Right? I find this most interesting. The rational religion assumes an omnipotence of knowledge, a universality of knowledge, and an accessibility of omnipotent levels of knowledge, which sort of betray that it is a religion rather than science as it claims to be. Science is scio, Latin. We know. It means I know something. It means what's known. The rational religion seems to me to be what someone else knows. Or that they know. Those people over there, they know. They understand, right? Oh, they're aware of what's going on. So that means because they know, we all know. And it assumes a knowledge that people just don't have, unfortunately. As such, I'd like to talk about the Sarsen stone circle. These Sarsens are mysterious things that don't really belong where they are. They seem to have been found on site or nearby, around 15 miles away or nearby according to some others. What I've always noticed is that geologists are actually always puzzled about these Sarsens and how they would have formed, as they already seem to be megalithic sized and megalithic shaped. Now I'm going to read to you a description from a book. Just hang on 1 second. Okay, some lovely books. Look at this one here. Elements of Field Geology. It's got some lovely ephemera. It's got the name Hermione Burkitt, Avalon, April 1962. And in the beautiful American business handwriting, or early 20th century Hollywood handwriting, or whatever you want to call it. Look at that handwriting. My dad used that handwriting, and I've learnt that handwriting for myself because it's so good and it doesn't tire your hand out. The teachers are teaching the wrong handwriting. But anyway, we have here a lovely book, Elements of Field Geology. Geology and Scenery in England and Wales. And one of the points of the video is that, do you ever see a textbook where they say, we don't know the answer to this question. We don't know this. We don't know that. It's always, this was formed 150 million years ago. We know everything. It's always from the standpoint of, we know everything already. We know everything. And I believe they're trying to kill ancient mysteries because they've associated with us with mysticism. But when you really look into what geology says about the Sarsens of Stonehenge, people don't know what they're doing there. They seem to be, I would suggest they are they are a type of cement from a lost civilization. I think I've suggested this before, but I'm not sure. And these stones were found on site, and I believe the Great Pyramid stones were found on site too. And you don't have to agree with me. I'm very happy for you to not agree with me on that one. But let's continue. Let's see what a geologist has to say about the Sarsen stones at Stonehenge. And it's a very nice book indeed. It's a beautiful book. It's all about what's all the different phenomena, the Peak District, geological phenomenon occurring in Great Britain, and he has something to say about the Sarsen stones. Now, this book is by A.E. Trueman, and it's a Penguin book, and it is from 1963. Let's see what they have to say. And to me, all these Sarsen stones, they look to me like they've been carried there by the ice, or they are remnants of something else. I've seen they have been described as a natural cement. So I'm going to read to you what he has to say, because these stones are very enigmatic. On many parts of the chalk, now he's talking about the Salisbury Plain, are isolated and irregular blocks of hard sandstone known variously as Sarsens, greyweathers, druid stones, or bride stones. Frequently they are covered with lichen and lie half buried. Just stones, just lying there half buried. Okay. They are nowhere so common as on the downs near Marlborough, and especially in valley bottoms in the neighbourhood of Fifield Down, where hundreds are to be seen, as in the Valley of the Rocks. South of the Kennet they are less abundant, but similar stones are found beyond the limits of the chalk country as far as Swindon. They are believed to represent remnants of a former sandstone bed which covered the area, a bed in which certain irregular masses were tougher than others owing to a subsequent deposit of silica which bound the grains together. So it's a natural cement. Sand that's been bound together, and here's the thing, we kind of say, we know how. 50 million years ago, we know how. Okay. They're just lying there. They're clearly not in the same, just lying there, not in the same way as in which they were formed. So they've been moved, tampered, shifted. Something's happened. Many of the larger blocks are of great size, but these have generally been used by the prehistoric inhabitants, particularly for the building of the great circles for which these areas are famous. And then he bangs on about Stonehenge for a while, and he bangs on about Avebury. Most fascinating indeed. And he says that the chalk area was the centre of the early tribal and religious activity. He calls it the tribal. And he says these chalk areas were amongst the most densely populated parts of Britain for thousands of years, for these various remains date from periods as far back as the Neolithic and early Iron Age. Now, okay, this is what he says. Ready? It is very remarkable that this part of the chalk should have yielded in the Sarsens masses of durable stone in a state which may be described as ready quarried. For the chalk as a whole is singularly deficient in building materials. And it is doubtful whether stone circles, as early as that of Avebury, would have been built on Salisbury Plain, but for the presence of the Sarsens. In some parts of the area, harder bands of chalk have been used for buildings, but in many districts flint nodules have been adopted, a rather unusual material for many purposes, since the small size of most of the pebbles, the difficulty of dressing, and the impossibility of carving have led to the development of peculiar and localised architectural styles. The ruins of the Benedictine Abbey in Reading, and some cottages near Marlborough, illustrate an early method of using flints with plentiful mortar. But it is in East Anglia that the use of flint is seen in its best forms. In most chalk districts, wood has also been largely used, and the large wooden barns and the farm buildings are often very attractive. So, anyway, to reiterate, that's it, that's all he says. It is very remarkable that this part of the chalk should have yielded in the Sarsens masses of durable stone in the state which may be described as ready quarried. In other words, there's more stones, just like the stones at Stonehenge or similar, just sitting there. Looks like they're already cut to size, and lots of them. And I certainly believe that of the Great Pyramid, because, and when people say they don't believe in those things under the pyramid, if you don't believe in those pillars under the pyramid, you now have to explain how a 4th dynasty civilization of maybe 2-3 million people took all that rock to Giza. Because if there was a great lost civilization having built those pillars, they would have been responsible for accumulating that massive cut stone at Giza. And it's the same thing here. What's all this stone doing here? On the Marlborough Plains, half buried, ready quarried, according to a geologist, quote unquote. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Yet another ancient mystery. This is an ancient mystery I believe not too many people are talking about, but what is the stone just doing there sitting in the chalk? It didn't form that way. What's it doing? All right, guys. Hope you've enjoyed the video, because, and I really encourage you to try and think also in, think of implications and consequences, because everything has implications and consequences. What are the implications of this? What are the consequences of that? And then you start to say, oh, well, that means this, and this means that, and then we can circle that around to the first thing, and then things start making sense. Anyway, guys, cheers.